Ask Reddit. What's the most inappropriate time you laughed? A woman got on stage to sing during a friend's wedding as part of the ceremony. It was naturally a song the bride and groom chose. As soon as she opened her mouth, it became clear that she absolutely tone deaf. It sounded like an animal being tortured. I was trying not to laugh, but two guys behind me started laughing, and it set off a chain reaction of laughter. Even the groom was red-faced from trying not to laugh. She just kind of sheepishly left the stage afterward. This happened at my wife's grandfather's funeral. A woman sang a completely tone-deaf and broken version of Amazing Grace. Her voice was somehow gravely and ear-piercing at the same time. My wife and I sat there squeezing each other's hands as hard as we could to hold back the laughter. I always had a problem laughing when I was being scolded in my childhood. Then I would be scolded further for laughing, then I would laugh more. It was a vicious cycle. I remember hearing that laughing in the face of an angry parent is a natural defense mechanism of some sort. Me and a friend were altar boys. An older woman took to the podium to read a Bible passage. The passage described how Jesus loves everyone, the sick and the healthy, the rich and the poor, the circumcised and the uncircumcised. That's all it took for a pair of 10-year-old boys to start laughing hysterically in front of a packed church. Why did this lady think Jesus so worried about the state of other dudes' penises? This was a common biblical reference to Jews, circumcised, and Gentiles, uncircumcised. We were at my uncle's funeral, whose death was a surprise. I was standing with my cousin, who just came back from abroad to attend her dad's funeral and was breaking down. My aunt, the deceased sister, came to tell my cousin that someone we know is apologizing for not being able to attend the funeral because she's in the hospital due to a car accident. My aunt went on describing the woman's very difficult condition and how she had an iron pole stuck into her forehead. 10 minutes later, the woman appears through the door in perfect health with just some scratches. My cousin sees her and look at me from the other side of the crowded silent room, and we both can't stop laughing for the rest of the funeral. So she lied about her condition and got called out firsthand? That's hilarious. I don't blame you one bit. A young teenager was leaning forward in a chair at a restaurant, lost traction and slammed their face into the table. Absolute hysterical sobbing ensued. Their parents stopped eating their salads to make sure they were okay. They were, aside from a nosebleed. I was sitting at the table next to them and cracked the fuck up at the sound of them hitting the table, and even more when they started crying. I was a horrible human being in that moment. Feel bad after the fact, but in the moment it tickled me to my core. My parents still giggle about some misbehaving kid that fell out of her chair like 25 years ago. Just some complete stranger they happened to see on vacation. This was at a ballet school performance. It was for kids ranging from 5 to 16-year-olds. For one of the younger age groups, they did this thing where one kid pranced from one corner of the stage to the other, and then another kid would do the opposite in a big X pattern. And they would have these gigantic shit-eating grins on their faces, just horribly precious. Well, I started losing it at about the 15th kid, but it went on for like 40 children. By the end, I was in tears, and all the other adults in the audience near me had found it contagious, so everyone was just sitting there laughing at their own children. LMAO, this mental image alone is making me giggle out loud. Group therapy. A kid, 22 or so, but you get the idea, was talking passionately about his struggles with Asperger's and OCD. He had a squeaky voice. He started talking about his OCD categories. Things that belonged under the earth, things that belonged on the earth, things that belonged in the water, and things that belonged in space. He named specific objects, rocks, bugs, etc. He said there were some things he could not fit neatly into his categories, even if they seemed like they were supposed to be in one. This distressed him. He bemoaned cars, he bemoaned women and pointed at one. Then with no segue announced that the reason he was there was because he snuck into the zoo at night and leapt into the lion enclosure. I had to bury my face in my elbow and turn away. Of course his problems were real, but it just seemed so out of place on a day when people were talking about who diddled them when. Wouldn't cars and women belong on the earth? Why don't they fit neatly? My daughter was in probably first or second grade, and she was doing an online math homework where she had to answer a bunch of math questions, and it would give her percentage correct at the end and then re-ask the one she missed. She was down to one question and got it wrong, so she got 0% correct. She bust out crying because she got 0%, and for some reason, I thought that was so funny that I bust out laughing and couldn't stop. And then she got even madder and cried harder because I was laughing at her, which made me laugh harder, which made her cry harder. Some say they are still laughing or crying to this day at ever-increasing levels. This is a bad one. We were watching a news report on coronavirus, and this lady was talking about her dead mother or grandmother. She was saying adjectives about how she looked when she died. She was this, she was that, and then I hear the legendary line, "She was dead, obviously." Wasn't that funny, but I started chuckling and my family noticed. I tried to stop, but actually couldn't. Had to excuse myself after they continued to make statements, which I found hilarious. Funniest and most evil 10 minutes of my year. We can't really help it most of the times, though. Humor in a situation is just a lot more obvious in an awkward situation. A few years ago, I was participating in a religious ceremony with my extended family. I'm not religious, but my mom and her family are, so I agreed to participate. I was tasked with reading one of the sections aloud and had to read off a list of titles of the Virgin Mary. Most of them were pretty straightforward. Queen of the Angels, Queen Most Holy, etc. But there's one section that starts with the word Virgin. I get to it and I'm trying not to smirk, but as soon as I said the phrase Virgin Most Powerful, I glanced at my brother and my SO and they were grinning at me. Their grins caused me to burst into giggles and I had to excuse myself while my mom glared knives into me. My brother continued the rest of the reading. I cracked up just reading this. It's just too much. Whatever your personal views on chastity and on religion, Virgin Most Powerful has to be hilarious. A friend of mine couldn't stop laughing in church. There was nothing funny, nothing at all, but we couldn't stop. It was so embarrassing. So much same. But it was my mother-in-law, and my son was being baptized. He was playing in the water a little. I heard her snort. That made me laugh. She snorted again. I laughed harder. We both started laughing and making those awful sounds you make when you're trying not to laugh. I laughed so hard I peed on a church pew during my own child's baptism. Me and my cousin are to this day best friends, but we were really crazy back when we were 8 to 10. In 4th grade, we both were in the school where the teachers forbid downloading stuff on the computers, and we decided to, I'm not kidding, download some porn. Let me just explain how the PCs were lined up. It was basically 4 rows of tables with computers on them, meaning that there were many kids beside and behind us. Also, there were 2 teachers going around to check on the kids. We search for porn and immediately as the results appear, our 8 to 10-year-old asses start laughing as loud as possible. I thought to myself, yep, this is it. We're gonna get caught. One of the teachers was behind us checking on the other row, and we were laughing so hard that I couldn't move the mouse to close the window, wondering how no one even batted an eye. So I just managed to download a porn picture and close the window off, then moved the picture in a random folder, and we were never caught. To this day, I can't believe the luck our dumb selves had. Really? Damn, that's some crazy good luck. The thing is, when you do shit in school, you feel like it's going to end up badly. But looking back, they're just great memories to look back upon and laugh at. Yours is quite a tale, huh? At my grandaunt's funeral, she was a big, jolly food lover while alive and is sorely missed. Everything was going along. Lots of tears while the vicar was giving the eulogy until he shared her last words. Come on, a little whipped cream isn't going to kill me. I lost my shit. This was 10 years ago and I still feel terrible for laughing. Cadaver room. One of my classmates accidentally stuck his finger in a kidney because he thought it was behind glass and tried to poke the glass. He was like, squish, oh fuck. A buddy of mine tried to fart on the pew in church and fucking unloaded a dump truck load of shit into his pants on accident. This was during a quiet moment, and I was absolutely howling with laughter. Edit. My highest rated comment ever is the story of my buddy power duking himself in the house of the Lord. What a time to be alive. Even a regular fart is a bad idea because it'll clap and echo right off those hardwood pews. Shitting yourself in church is just exquisite though. I would never let him live it down. Lord sure moves in mysterious ways, huh, bud? One way to get the devil out. Oh, you made it to the end. Smash like and subscribe for more amazing content.